All right. Well, another week has gone by. Oh, man. But just to start it off, I want to send a massive shout out to Bayer Leverkusen for winning the Bundesliga. Early pitch invasion, though, yeah?
Yeah, just a smidge. After they put in their fifth goal, the stewards there had a little trouble controlling the crowd, shall we say. They had a few overly eager, justifiably so, considering the occasion.
125 years.
Yeah, so Leverkusen fans were ready to go and ready to celebrate their first title in that amount of time. So huge shout out to them, their fans, Xabi Alonso for turning that club around and all the things that they still have to achieve because they're on a treble chase themselves.
Well, we're ready to turn it up here. So as always, welcome to the Snobby Boys!
You are now tuned into the Snobby Boy Podcast.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Snobby Boy Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Colby. That is my homeboy, Joe. We're going to be talking to you, as always, about city stuff. Man, it's been a crazy freaking week, has it not?
A long week, too, it feels like.
Long week.
The Real Madrid match seemed like a long time ago, and a lot has happened over this past 2 days in the Prem, too. So we got a lot of happening and a lot of things to talk about.
Yes, we do. But before we get too far, make sure that you hit the like, the subscribe, and the notification bell to get all notifications to when we are going live, when we have an episode, when the episode's coming, all that good shit. Let's see. Also, yeah, comment section is always open. If you're here, throw some comments in there. We'll address them as we go along, as we always have. Let's see. What are we talking about today, Joe? So we're talking about Real Madrid, the recap of that, recap of Luton Town. Holland's late media treatment should be a talking point this week. We're also going to look ahead at the second leg against Real Madrid, and then to cap off the week, a look ahead at our FA Cup match against Chelsea. But before we do that, make sure you get in there, get on to bonfire.com, and order one of our t-shirts. We are currently doing our 15% off with the code SNOBBYAF. Type that in when you go to make your purchase. You get 15% off, and we're going to actually run that through probably the rest of the season. We will be having more shirt designs come up after this conclusion of this season. To start us off, we actually also, just to let you guys in a little tip, we're going to be doing a kit change for next season. We will also be unveiling a new logo for the podcast, so stay tuned for that. Let's get right into it, man. Fucking Real, man. Ooh. Real Madrid, absolute barn burner.
If you were neutral in this match and you were just watching, this was a fucking fun game for you to watch. If you were new to the sport or new to following and this was your first one, I hope you continue following and see how exciting that game was, because it was up, back and forth. It was open. Both clubs were not holding back. They were going for it and trying to win this one from the jump. So a lot of really high quality football from both sides. Yeah, exactly. So top match.
Top match. So let's get into the finer points. What were you gonna say, Joe?
I was just gonna say that's not a match you would anticipate seeing in a quarterfinal matchup.
No, not at all.
100%.
Not at all.
A final or a semi.
So I don't know if you guys saw the meme that was put up this week about the Santiago Bernabeu and its design. If anybody caught that on our Instagram, the place looked like an air fryer. It looks like an air fryer.
The outside of that joint, for sure.
It looks like, even like a 21st century HP printer or something like that.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So they closed the roof. They closed the roof on us for this match. Apparently, it was to bring noise. Well, I don't really see that as the issue for this match as we get into it. I think it was more that they were just trying to cook us inside of said air fryer. So, just saying, that was a really stupid last minute thing that UEFA did too. Like, what? First of all, why do you have to ask to close your building? Number one, and this isn't me standing up for Madrid. I don't understand this because, like, over here in the NFL, if you would have closed the roof, that's on you, bro.
You just do it. You click the button, and it's like, okay.
It's all about making the other team suffer in some way, shape, or form. But this was not the case in this one. So let's get into a couple of the finer points. Right off the bat, there was an early pen, but ref seemed to kind of let everything else go for the rest of the match, seemingly.
He was definitely not interested in being the story for this game. He was letting everything play. He was very much saying, players, it's on you. I'm not going to be here unless it's totally egregious, which the Tchouaméni tackle was, which is great because he misses like 2 because he was already on that yellow card caution and picked one up early. So
there was a lot of players from Real that came in with yellow cards for this match. I believe by the end of the match, there was a total of 8 players on the pitch that were on yellows.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody, from what I kind of saw, was kind of not playing scared, so to speak, but playing conservative in lieu of potential fouls or carding. So, I mean, I feel like this match would have been a little bit different had that not been the scenario. I feel like there would have been a lot of cheeky shit right up front. That's just, if you're in my house, that's what I'm going to do to you, especially in the first leg.
For sure.
You know? So Silva started us off with a goal.
Real Madrid killer, that guy. They're tired of seeing Bernardo Silva, so that was clearly, that was not a training ground one either. That was Bernardo saw the way that their wall was lined up and saw that there was some space to be had, and just took an opportunity and went for it, and it worked out great. Great way to start the game. You're up 1-0, and you feel like you can be a little bit more comfortable. But as we know, Real Madrid is Real Madrid, and they tend to come back quickly from going down a goal, which is exactly what happened in a very short period of time.
So right after that, Real comes back with 2 goals, 2 minutes apart. One was off of Rube's own goal. That was unlucky. Terrible. Yeah, terribly unlucky. One of the things that I think right now is a good time to talk about it is Ruben Diaz's woes this season. He has had so many miscues throughout the season, and it's hard not to notice it. He has been the anchor of our central defenders, and he's time and time over not been in the right place, not been up to pace, not been able to track back, and it's becoming a little worrisome. Conversely, one thing that I will say to that is the fact that we have not once this season used Josko Gvardiol centrally. Do you possibly see, Joe, in the future, maybe even going into next season, us working Gvardiol centrally, or do you think that he'll basically be sitting left back for the time being?
That's a great question, considering how well Josko is currently playing at left back.
Right.
Because he was brought in to be a center back, not a out-and-out left back for us. So I think at this point, when he's cooking like he is right now out there, you let him be. And we do have depth at center back. We have Stonesy, we have Akanji, we have Ake. So you have options in the middle. So if he's going to keep doing that, I think you roll with it while it's working and while it's hot. Going into next year depends on really who is available in the transfer market that we could potentially pull in, because it's got to be somebody that's playing better than Josko and is better option at that spot.
Which Not many.
There's not many.
There's not many.
So I think going into next season, Yoshiko's pretty much entrenched in that spot, and Ake will probably be our left-sided center back, paired with Ruben, John, whoever. But I think it's going to be a constant rotation because we just always seem to have somebody in that spot nicked. So they're all going to play. They're all going to see lots of minutes. And the great thing is they're all versatile. They can play, minus Ruben, who's pretty much a center back. The other three can play fullback or in that pairing with Ruben. So it's a good problem to have. I could see them, depending on what happens with Kyle, reinforcing the back line a little bit. So I think that's definitely on the wish list.
Well, I'll say this right now. I'll take Frimpong back from Leverkusen.
He's definitely on the watch list for sure. He's
had an
amazing season.
Happily have him back on the blue side. Happily.
Absolutely.
So let's see. Communications break down after those two goals entirely. That's also something that I have seen throughout the season. Is if we go down one early, communication is usually the issue. If it's not already an issue, then it starts to break down. I think more so in the Luton Town game, you'll see that didn't really hold them down at all. Granted, by the time, and we'll get there, when Ross scored, it wasn't worrisome, so it didn't really matter. But in the times that we have been forced down one early, what do you think needs to be the motive on the pitch whenever we get to that place of lack of communication and whatever? I mean, not having Kevin out there and that type of leadership and being up in people's asses, it's very well missed when certain games like this happen. You can see that he is the result or not result of him not being there of the communication. So what are some things that you think the players could do to kind of counteract that and make themselves realize, like, dude, this isn't nothing for us. We're built for this.
Yeah. It's 100% something that's a mental lapse for our guys, and I think it takes somebody. Person I think is probably going to have to be is Rodri, because he plays so frequently. He rarely is out. I think he's got to be the voice of the midfield and take control verbally when he's on the pitch. We see in the documentary, the treble-winning documentary, he has become more vocal in the locker room. Now I'd like to see that translate more onto the pitch, because when Kevin is not there, because Phil is not quite there yet with that aspect of his game of being the one who's, getting in people's ears and telling people what to do. I think it's got to be Rodri. He's going to have to be the one to really get into people's asses sometimes and make sure we're all on the same page. Because that's what tends to lead to the breakdowns for our club when it happens, is a lack of communication or focus, really. So it's going to take Rodri. I think is a guy. He's going to be the one to fix that problem going forward.
Do you? And this is just me playing devil's advocate in the moment. Do you think that maybe Rodri doesn't step up in that role? Not because of anything other than he carries the weight for the most part between the defense and the midfield. Do you think maybe he's so caught up in the moment of what he's doing that communication kind of lacks, and he just expects everybody to do what they're supposed to do? Because that's sometimes the rhetoric I get from him when he's on. It's not to say that he's not a captain of sorts, and that he doesn't communicate at all. It's certainly not a me first mentality by any stretch of what I'm trying to say, but more so the fact that that's such a heavy burden. That weight sometimes, it's so heavy that it kind of washes over his head to even say anything.
Yeah, he's got so much responsibility out there in that role for Pep, as typically the pivot between the two lines. and the one who's in breaking up attacks and, switching for the fields and switching to play. He has so much on his shoulders that piece tends to probably go by the wayside at times because of what you just said, because he has so much responsibility on his shoulders. So,
we agree. We agree,
right?
You had written in here that Carval needed to be punished for pushing so far ahead.
Yeah, he was in Kyle Walker territory of pushing forward in the offensive half of the field for us. So he was absolutely out of position quite a bit. So if we could have hit them on the counter in that space and behind him, we were not able to really take advantage of those opportunities. For me, watching in the first half, I noted that he was very high. But as we got going a little bit forward and further into the match, and they were giving a bigger picture on the screen, you could see the reason why we weren't really having that space in behind was because Fede Valverde was doing a really great job of covering for his right back. They had pretty much 3 center mids in there with him, Cruz, and Camavinga. So they had that extra person in the midfield to drop out when he went forward. So they had really good movement off ball and supporting one another. So kudos to them. It was something that I thought we could exploit. And then as the match was going along and I was able to see, the full picture, he was in that space and behind anytime Carvajal went forward. So that was a good adjustment by Madrid to say, we're going to bomb him forward. One of y'all's got to drop in and cover his space. And they did that really well. So that's tip of your cap to them, because there was no room behind. I was like, hey, there's space there. Got to be space there. And then I was like, wait, no, there isn't. So there's a reason why they're not hitting that ball. Take your coach has that hat off, Joe, for a second, and realize there's probably a reason why those smart Man City players aren't playing balls in behind him.
Right. One thing I'd like to point out is Camavinga. If you guys remember from last season, he was actually playing as a fullback. Now they have pushed him back up into the midfield, which is originally where he was playing prior to being pushed back to the left back. Now, I don't understand Ancelotti's full reasoning behind it. However, his versatility and being able to switch between the defense and the midfield is something that I'd like to take note of, because you just don't get a lot of players in today's football, I guess, where you see them moving from midfield back to defense and forward. You see it a lot with us. But other teams, you don't really see a lot of that switch. I mean, you can maybe take the Zinchenko's, pick another left back or right back that plays high up. That can be that, but it just doesn't happen very often. And I think that's really great because I think Camavinga is a really good fucking player. He, like I said, his versatility and being able to play those positions, he capitalized on being able to be so versatile, especially in this match.
He's a quality player for sure, and you like having that. When you have players who are versatile like that, it allows you to play with your formations a bit more, which is what Pep loves to do. So that's very much. And when he drops into defense, you start learning and seeing the game from that perspective, which only helps you in your natural position as a midfielder. So you could see that was on display for him, because he had a quality match too. I liked a lot from what I saw with him on the reverse side, obviously.
Yeah. So let's get in the meat of this game. And I think the biggest talking point of this match is Jude Bellingham. Jude's not the dude. He's not the dude. He wasn't in this match, at least, that Real bought. He's had such a great season. And I want to point out his great season comes at the hands of playing in a league that is less than the Premier League. I'm sorry to say it. If that offends you, I don't care. There's proof in my pudding, okay? There's proof in my pudding. If you put Jude Bellingham back into an English side, a Premiership side, he's going to do well. I won't say that he won't. He's certainly not going to be fucking Declan overpriced by any stretch, but he would be a difference maker in the Premier League. The amount of goals that he has scored with Real is a product of a low playing league. Do you believe that?
Yeah, and they're playing him pretty much as a striker because they don't have one. Can you not hear me?
Is this me? Did it do it again?
It might have.
I don't know what happened.
We'll get that technical situation figured out. But I 100% think Jude benefits a high amount from playing in as a striker role. And the whole hype coming into this was
gotta be crapping me.
He was
sorry. We're having a little bit of technical difficulty right now. My headphones all of a sudden just cut out, even though they're on.
Awesome. And we checked all this ahead of time, so this isn't.
And now I can hear you in my speakers. So I don't know what you just said at all.
Can you hear me now?
Gotta love it. Gotta love it, right?
Indeed. Any luck? Yep.
This is fun.
The joys of doing things
man.
Live.
Right in the middle of the damn show. That's so whack. So whack. Oh my god. Alright, well, you know what we're gonna do? While I fix this real quick, we're gonna take a quick pause. I'm gonna throw the loop of our episode card on while I fix this, and we'll be right back.
I can't hear you at all.
Well, I knew what that was. The microphone was my fault.
Can you hear me now?
Can you hear me now?
I got you.
Is this is this an AT? We're in an AT&T ad, or no? Was that Verizon or Sprint?
Yeah,
doesn't matter.
Hear me now.
Doesn't matter.
Cell phone provider.
All right. Sorry, everybody. Where were we at?
we were talking about Jude Bellingham.
Yeah.
And how after this particular match, our former Dortmund player got all of the media criticism, but Jude, who is by all accounts the leading Ballon d'Or frontrunner, no-showed and in fact played very poorly. His work ethic off ball, non-existent. Messi, Mbappe, Neymar-esque from PSG time. He was looking for every foul. He was trying to buy things. It was, I thought his general demeanor and attitude on the pitch was just poor in general. I don't know if he just hyped himself up so much, but he was out there just with a shitty attitude, in my opinion. And I just came away thoroughly unimpressed. He didn't really make any impact in the game whatsoever. He was not dangerous. He didn't threaten us and was generally just running around, whining at the official, complaining about every non-call and letting us get in his head. So I was not impressed with Jude. For him to be the one that's getting all the hype for the Ballon d'Or, you expect a bit more. And it was the other players. Who showed up. Vinny and Rodrigo were their difference makers.
Yep.
And Valverde on that ridiculous goal that he had. So
ridiculous fucking goal.
So Jude, I hope you have another shitty game, and then after that, do better, bro.
Yes. Yes to all of that. Another big note to this match was the amount of turnovers in the midfield. It's no. And this is another thing that we need to clean up ourselves is taking authority when we're in possession or on the counterattack and not have these silly turnovers that we have.
A lot of them
some of them were the other way, but yeah, not.
And that's when teams hurt us, is when we turn the ball over like that. And that's what teams are hoping for and looking for. And we cannot let that happen in leg 2 because we know how clinical they can be at times. So we're going to need to hit the training pitch hard and focus on maintaining possession, because that's what Pep always says is best defense is keeping the ball from the other team. Mm-hmm. So we cannot let ourselves get punished in the very few times where we actually turn the ball over in a match. So they need to and if you lose it, we all make mistakes. That shit happens. But what separates the great clubs from the mid to low table teams is your ability to win the ball back quickly and your desire to win it back and get it back possession. So if we lose it, that happens. But don't compound it by being lazy and not getting back. So
big facts.
Let's clean it up, boys.
Big
I know
facts.
you can do it.
All right. So we're going to rush through the second half of our talk on this. It was very straightforward. Typically, we've been asking for second half City. Shout out the Hollywood Kickbacks. I believe you guys should coin that. Just saying. Second half City, we came out really sloppy. Right out of the gate. But then right after that, Phil scores another one. He only hits Golazos now, it seems. I don't know what water combination he's drinking or what it may be, but keep doing that.
All of that.
5 minutes later, Gvardiol, he puts in a moonshot. First goal as a blue.
What a time to score your first one. And what a way to score your first one. Your non-dominant foot screamer from outside of the box. All 3 of our goals against Madrid were from outside of the box, which is bananas.
Yep. 8 minutes later, Vinny sends a cross across the box to Valverde. That was a gorgeous one.
What a volley that was. I wish Akanji would have closed down the cross a bit. He gave Vinny way too much space to be able to get that cross off into that dangerous space. And then after that, it's just you tip your cap to the other guy for making an absolute worldly of a goal.
Yeah. Absolutely that. And then just to round this out, it was kind of what we said in the beginning of the recap of Real. There were just the antics, the attitude, general demeanor across was completely absurd on their side.
Yeah, it wasn't just Jude; it was their whole group had a really bad attitude.
Yeah. We're very lucky to be walking away from that match with a tie, with the aggregate coming back to the Etihad. There are so many things that could have went the other way on any other given day, and we're just really happy with the result that we got a draw out of this one. But one last thing before we take off into intermission real quick. I want to make mention of the fact that this probably would have been a little bit different had Real not had 9 days before seeing us, versus we only had 3 to prepare.
And we had to travel too.
Exactly. So we'll conclude this at the Etihad. I'm very certain of that.
The fortress.
Let's go to our intermission. We are going to run through the Luton Town recap fairly quickly. And then we got some other stuff we want to talk about afterwards. So give us about 30 seconds and we'll see you then. we went 2 times. Got to hit the loot button. God damn it. All right, so walking into Luton Town. They came to our place. We only played them fucking 3 weeks ago, right?
Yeah, the FA Cup.
Yeah, no, FA, really?
Mm-hmm.
Was that not? Whatever, dude. This season's been so jumbled together. So one of the things right off the top is Ake and Walker were back in the squad and Jarest on the bench. So that's really great to see, especially walking back into a Champions League match where we're going to need all of our defenders. Because they're not going to not come there with some sort of revenge tactic or with a vengeance. It's going to be that match, and I'm so prepared for it. But having them back was awesome to see. Rodri finally gets his first seat of the season. God bless, man.
Full 90 off, too. Didn't even come in later on in the match. He got to take the entire match off and rest, which was great because at this stage of the season, with the patches so compact like this, it's hard to find time. So glad he got his rest, and I'm glad that the midfield to control things without him being in there. Kova did a great job. Nunez and KDB all did a great job in that midfield.
Absolutely. Joe, I'm going to let you run away with this part of it, and I'll throw my little bits in, and we'll do some little video clips for you guys of each one of these goals that was scored in this match. So,
yeah, it was quite an opening sequence. Before we even scored the goal, we had 2 very clear chances. Haaland was in 1-on-1 with the keeper. Unfortunately, wasn't able to finish. KDB, beautiful ball to get him in. And then Doku also had a very good opportunity to score, but weren't able to do it. Although, nicely done, Haaland to score a face goal, which you love to see. Hilarious.
Now a chance perhaps for Doku to make the most of it. Still alive, and
Okay, Haaland is clearly trying to score, but when you watch the video, it looks like he's just trying to smash the ball into that guy's face. Now, I
feel bad for that guy's noggin, man.
Dude, we said it pre-show. He is so lucky that caught him more in the chin and nose area and not in the temple, because that would have been lights out KO. He's done for the game if he would have taken that off of here, off the side, because that was ripped into his face.
I think right. I think Haaland should get his feet registered. You know, you can get your hands registered, right? Right? Those are big. That's a lethal weapon right there. You blast one in somebody's face.
Oh my gosh. And deflected into a goal. So we started off with a 1-0, which was great. I loved seeing Kevin popping up all over the pitch. He was on the left wing, right wing, popping up in the midfield. He was clearly given license to roam wherever he felt needed to pick up the ball. And that's a good sign that Kevin is feeling like himself when he's his movement off ball is like that. So
yeah,
awesome for him. Early, we were also looking for the switch from out wide to Doku, and he was getting lots and lots of space. He had a fantastic match. And throughout the first half, KDB again just dropping dimes. If you remember watching, it seemed like every pass that he was putting through was spot perfect. And was finding those little lanes to get through and leading people. And the weight on his passes yesterday were just perfect, magical. So I felt like Haaland probably could have earned a PK. He had his shirt completely yanked and turned him in the box. So clearly, and like you had mentioned, the ball was playable. He could have gotten to the ball, and he got just turned around with a clear shirt grab. And VAR looked at it and said, "No, there's nothing. That was a good call."
Yeah. So two calls this weekend. Absolute disgrace calls. That's one of them. Second one, that goal in the Crystal Palace Liverpool match today That goal should have fucking went in. The ball was all the way over the plane, and they disallowed it.
You gotta love the graphics that they come up with, where they can manipulate the video and all that.
What's a goal anymore? What's a goal anymore if you can't show that the ball goes over the line entirely into the net line, right? That's a goal. Any other day, that's a goal. By definition, that was a goal.
Mm-hmm.
VAR is just on some bullshit, man.
Constantly.
The continuity and the consistency of that program it's a mockery. I mean, what's the basis of these rules anymore? Especially, like you said, when you got all this video equipment, all this technology that shows you a precise angle. Ridiculous. I digress.
You know what else was ridiculous? Not giving Ross Barkley a yellow card for fucking grabbing Ederson when he's about to roll the ball out to create an attacking opportunity. That was the most blatant yellow card I think I've seen in a very long time. And the referee was like, "We'll just restart play. We'll be fine. We'll just do a kick from right here." No, you can't touch the goalkeeper and pull his arm back as he's getting ready to do a hammer throw. No. That's a yellow card, dude. Like, absolutely ridiculous.
Can't do anything but shake your head.
No. Yeah. Something not ridiculous was how well Mateus Nunes played in this match. He played great. I marked on notes when we were, watching his timing and the intelligence to make the runs in behind the defense from deep in midfield was on full display. He was so dangerous every time he got in there. He didn't score, but that's okay. You're not always looking for people to score when we have the finishers we have on the squad. He's creating spaces for others, and I'd like to hear your thoughts a little bit on Nunes, because I felt he had a great game. Great game.
Nunes has been consistently progressing through the season as he's gotten time in the side. What I saw against Luton Town, his off-ball runs, all the stuff that he was doing is exactly why we bought him from Wolves. He showed up all his skill, and that's only the crust of it. You haven't even gotten down into the bread of it. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is just the start. If we can continue to keep him on this progressive track where he's making contribution, where he's creating space, where he's doing the things that we bought him for, people are going to be singing his name. And I've been singing his name since when he was with Wolves. I see what he can be in our side. And that also goes into the rumor mill a little bit. Neto is potentially on our radar. Now, if you can get those two back together, you have a whole new dynamic of a midfield to play with when you don't have Kev, when you don't have Phil. We're not going to have Bernie. Paqueta, if he comes in, I can see him working, being a multifunctional midfield forward type player. But do I think that he'll make an instant impact with the team? Not quite the way that Nunes and even Kovacic at this point have helped impact the team. That's just my take. Nunes, though, he's proving himself to be one of the better signings of this past summer. And let's be real, all of them are good. There's not been a single blemish out of all four of the signings that we've had this summer. They started off, some of them started off different. I mean, everybody's been having Doku's head for fucking months. And I don't know if it's because he's new, I'm not really comfortable with him yet. Sometimes I get other no vibes from people. I won't say the word. But on the whole, I mean, he's produced so much for us. You know, Kova has been a piece of veteran leadership that we needed, especially after losing Gundogan. Josko Yasko, dude. We bought, and this has been the comparison for the last couple of weeks. We bought a Rolls Royce of a defender, and that's proving to be true every single match that we come across. So Núñez, on the whole, I think he had a fantastic match. I think that if we can continue to use his ability and exploit things against teams at particular times, he will be a major asset. Major asset.
Yeah, other times in the first half too, whatever side Doku was on, because he was flipping between left and right quite a bit. Whatever side he was on, we had lots of width because he was staying wide in his role, and his pace obviously is dangerous out wide. But we were a little off balanced in the first half with Alvarez, KDB, and Núñez all kind of occupying that space in behind Haaland, and that left a gap. I noticed it especially when Doku was on the left side. Yeah. Typically, when we have Kyle, that's where he's the one providing width on that side and balancing the attack a bit. So it felt like that was kind of what we were missing in the first half, because it was another one of those lately typical first half cities. We dominate possession, create all these chances, but we only have one goal to show for it. So we went into half only up 1-0, and you hope to see more than that considering how well they played, but that's footy sometimes.
And it's Luton. Like we're talking about team number 18 currently in the standings. This should have been a blowaway. Absolute blowaway. One little thing that I want to take into note too is that at this very point in the match, I felt that Julian was completely underutilized. You saw him sitting in space so much, not doing shit. And I felt like there could have been a little bit more even distribution from right to left. I just saw him standing around, not doing a whole hell of a lot. It's really, I think a lot of us envisioned this forward setup when we signed, and I said this earlier in the season, when we signed Haaland and Alvarez. We were expecting to see Alvarez on the wing with him more often, and we haven't seen it as much this season. And it's kind of crazy because when we did our predictions for this match, we didn't have Alvarez on the right. We actually both picked Bob to play right, and we felt that he deserved to get that role, especially in this match. But obviously didn't get it. But I felt, like I said, he was underutilized. There could have been a lot more potency in the attack with Jules and Haaland side by side, and there wasn't. And if you saw it too, why do you think that they kind of said, you just stay over there, we're going to play left side?
It felt like he might have been told, you're going to be the one providing the width on the opposite side of Doku, because he was typically on the other side of where Jeremy was, but he's clearly more comfortable in the center of the box. And at times when Kevin is also in there, and when Phil's in there too, they all kind of like to occupy those same spaces. So I think what needs to happen in those times when they're both on the pitch is Jules has to read what Kevin's doing a little bit more. When Kevin is occupying that space, he's got to get wider, and he's got to take that, because he's got a great free kick. He takes a lot of the free kicks. He can deliver a ball in from out wide. So I think we need to utilize that aspect of his game more. But when Kevin goes wide and takes the ball out and is, crossing the ball, and that's the time where he can kind of fill that space. So I think they need to kind of get on the same page a little bit and notice when Kevin is given the freedom to roam, that Jules needs to occupy that other space, because then that creates more options for both of them. So I think that's what it is. And Jules just seems to be more comfortable in the middle of the pitch. So
absolutely. Yeah. I would really like to see us maybe next season, when we have a lowly match, redo the false 9 with Julian as the 9. I think that would be somebody's not going to see that. Like, I think that's a really good fucking throw the wrench in the wheel type of tactic.
Yep.
Or even formation for next season that we should use.
That's a wrinkle. That's a wrinkle for other teams to think about when you throw that out there. They're like, hey, they might bust this out at some point, so they have to think about it. They have to prepare for it, which just creates, more for them to think about, which is always a good thing.
Right. So to conclude, first half recap. Typical first half of City late, tons of possession, lots of chances created, but one goal to show for it, which say lovey. Second half, no changes whatsoever. Pep didn't stick with that current lineup, though, for too terribly long, if I don't remember correctly.
The intensity level ratcheted up, for sure.
Yeah.
As a whole, as a group. They were definitely doing more to get after it. Luton was playing far different from the time we played them in the FA Cup when we put 6 past them. In that match, they were playing a very, very high line and man marking Erling Haaland, and Kevin picked them apart. In that game, though, that's a cup competition. That's a one-off. You're trying to win, and losing if you lose 6-2 or you lose 2-1, it doesn't matter. But in league play, goal differential is very important. So they were, at the time, before we started banging goals in on them, they were playing very different. They had 2 blocks of 5. Everybody behind the ball, and that's a really difficult thing. We've talked about this before. It's really hard to break that kind of setup down, and it took us a little while, but we were able to break it down eventually and put several past them. I do want you to talk a little bit about Ruben, because at the time of those 2 blocks of 5, our center backs were extremely pushed up, and I'd like you to elaborate a little bit on that one.
Yeah, so we were really pushed up during that time when they implied the low block. The one thing that I saw, and it wasn't just the first half, it was both halves. And it was only 2 shots specifically with Ruben. Ruben had an attempt early in the first half. That's fine. I respected, I understood what was going on in that specific moment to cause him to take that shot. But second half, his second attempt, in the build-up, there was space that he could have distributed the ball, whether it be forward to Phil. I believe Kevin was in space too there, if I remember correctly, and he decided to whip it from like 5 extra yards outside the 18. And I was like, why did you fucking do that? What was your, did you honestly think you were going to get that goal? I understand that our back line, especially with Gvardiol's recent play, we've been getting a lot more goals out of the back, and that's aces. I'll take it all fucking day. But there's a time and a place for things, and I do not think Ruben should have been taking any chances at that time, considering at that point we were only up 1-0.
Mm-hmm.
So, hold on, I'm going to stretch out my notes again. Yeah. Pushing defenders up should only be for distribution, not for shots, especially when you play is in build up. You got to be a part of it, but not to the end.
This was not a Vinny Company situation where we needed a goal against Leicester. This was we were already up 1-0. Let's let the attacking players handle this, and you're typically our very last line of defense, so we can't have you near the 18 trying to score too often. So please, I appreciate the effort, I really do, but let's reel ourselves back in a little bit.
Yeah.
Reel it back in a little bit.
So right after that, Kovo with a brilliant volley off.
Training ground routine. Love to see those. What a hit that was from Kovo.
Yeah, well, let's take a look at it real quick.
We got it queued up.
Alvarez taking it short. Kovacic!
In the fucking upper right. Oh my god, that was great.
Do you see how high that ball bounced for him to hit the volley? That wasn't just around his ankle. That was up around his knee. Getting the technique right on that to get your body over top of that ball and to hit it in the placement that he did.
Yeah.
Man. And that space was open a lot on those corners. He was frequently just camping in that spot, and it was there, and they finally saw it and took advantage of that with that corner routine, and that was absolutely magic.
You had to be spot on to make that shot with the way the ball came up on him.
Yep.
Absolutely. Your foot has to be in the right place. You got to know that you're actually hitting the ball with your foot. I can see so many times where a player has a play on the ball as such, and they whip it around, and it either hits their shin or it hits the bad part of their toe or whatever, and it but that was perfection.
Mint.
Absolute perfection. After that, Doku, great job earning the PK. Inside out move was lethal, and defender knew immediately. Holland buries the penalty with a great composure. Of course he does. Let's take a look at that.
It's Holland. Precise. Perfection.
You expect those to go in. Whenever he takes them, it's like that's money in the bank because people are not going to stop it considering how hard he hits the damn ball. Recently, the Philadelphia 76ers set up a statue of AI outside their training facility. And
really?
They did. And Doku channeled his inner AI with that crossover move. He got that dude completely sputtered out. He got him on the right. Then he was like, nope, going left. And that dude stuck his leg out. And you could tell right away he knew that shit was going to be a PK. He left his head down. He was like, damn, I fucked up on that one. And it was just more great play from Doku to earn us that PK. He was a menace for them to deal with because he was making quick, decisive decisions, and they could not deal with him at all. So big ups to him for that one.
Oh, so substitutions finally happened. KDB and Holland off for Gomez and Bob. Glad to see Bob get in. Good to see FA Cup man up in the mix. God bless. Listen, people don't talk enough good about Sergio Gomez. When Hollywood Kidpacks first came out with this little series for FA Cup man, I kind of thought they were a little off the rockers at first. Like, I know Alex was trying to give some push to Sergio and make people see that I wasn't really feeling it at the moment. I was like, I don't know if he's really that guy. I don't know. But the times that he has gotten on, he has not exactly been a difference maker, but he plays well. And what's even more, I don't know if you've seen, I believe it was this match it was this match, where he's moved from left back and found his way all the way forward, even playing midfield off to the right. He's a very versatile player, and I want people to understand that he's not just a left back taking the place of or filling in for, like, he could be an actually really good player for us. Do I see him situated as a left back in the future? No. I think he would be more appropriate if he was playing in the midfield in certain instances. If you can get him to be a little bit more like a Bernie, I feel like his game would go up 10 levels. Just being pesky, being up in the mix of stuff, trying to take the ball away, being that type of player, that's what I'd like to see out of him.
Yeah, he's much more a natural midfielder winger than he is a defender. Kind of like Zinni was. Zinni was playing left back out of necessity for us.
Exactly.
Because we didn't have anybody to play there and then did well. Sergio Gomez, very similar in that situation where he's a midfielder that was playing defense out of necessity when he was with Vinny at Anderlecht. And so he's got the ball skills. He's more comfortable in a more advanced role. So I definitely love when they bring him on in a more advanced role. So I think that's definitely where his future lies because he's still young. He's still got a lot to work with because you can see it when he's moving on the pitch, the way he passes the ball. His crosses are great. He had a shitload of assists the season before we bought him. So a lot to like there, a lot to work with for sure.
Absolutely.
So I'm glad he got a little bit of run.
Yep. Let's see. We're almost out of this match. So Final things, Doku. Doku finally gets a goal in.
It's Holland. Well, now surely the 3-pointer wraps up for Manchester.
Whoopsies.
Got to see the gritty. We got to see the gritty.
Got to see the gritty. Yeah,
Great
man.
run by him. He used his pace and was able to dance through a couple defenders and slot it home nicely. That's the Doku we saw at the beginning of the season, making a difference. Earning a PK, getting an assist, and scoring a goal. Man of the match for me.
Absolutely. He has also people have ragged on him for the way that he makes the same type of steps that Jack was making in his first season with us and becoming very predictable. He's learned to cut the defense up just in the last couple weeks again. So glad to see his progression, that he's contributing to the team. Get these motherfuckers off his back. Because dude he's a really good player. He's a really good player. He just needs to get the speed under control. And I think he's getting there. I'm not hitting the gritty. Not hitting the gritty. I'll get my kid to do it. I'll put my face over top of him or something.
Whatever trophy we end up lifting first, I will do that, and we will make a little video of it on socials for us. So you heard it here first.
Oh, now just put me up to shit. What the fuck?
Absolutely, George. I love it. Great call out, brother.
Oh, dude. All right, so final goal.
We weren't done scoring. We were not
done scoring. Final goal. Yasko gets
Guardiola. It's another for Manchester City.
Yasko gets a second. Absolutely beautiful goal. And what's crazy is it's literally from the same exact spot. Literally from the same exact spot he scored his first one. So, absolutely. Please prove to us more why we bought you.
What have we been saying about him on the show is that he has such good ball skills for somebody who is a natural center back. And this week in particular, fully on display.
Fully. Absolutely. All right, so that concludes that part of the show. We're going to get into our final thoughts. First thing that I want to point out is the fact that every team that's come into the Etihad this season, when we've been up, which has been every single time, teams like to leave the away section rather early. Luton Town, you get my respect for this season. You didn't. You stayed till the end. That shows me your heart. That shows me the grit that you have. That shows me the passion you have for that team. I hope you guys stay up in the Premier League, not just for competition's sake, because those are the type of standards that we need to address in all the teams, even our own.
Absolutely. Couldn't have said it better myself. When I saw the picture at the end that they were all still there clapping their team on.
Yes.
Shout out. Away fans for most clubs travel well and are loud and noisy because they're committed, because they're spending money on those tickets and the travel. Yeah. But to stay through, unlike what most clubs do, and cheer your team on, you got to know the players felt that and appreciated that when they saw and were done the game after losing, and you see that still happening. That's great. That's great stuff. So I think to continue with Luton a little bit, you had a question about one of their players that we discussed earlier.
So, yes. Ross Barkley. I'm sure there's a lot of bad things that can be said about him. Considering, I guess, his history. But all in the same, if, this is more of a question, more than a statement, if Luton Town do in fact stay up, or excuse me, if they don't stay up and they drop, do you see Ross Barkley in a Premier League side considering his form this year with Luton Town?
He's been a difference maker for that club. They needed someone like him who has had top-level experience. That guy's played for Villa, Chelsea, Everton. He's played and been capped with the national team side. So having somebody with his quality on a lower-tier club like that was definitely something that they needed. And I'm sure other clubs have taken notice that he's back to performing at a higher level. And if they drop, I hope he stays with Luton, because I think he's found a great spot there and a good situation for himself. But I feel like when clubs drop down to the Championship, the bigger clubs with the more money in the Premier League are going to circle him as somebody that they could bring into their side and make a similar difference with them. So I feels like he's going to be, if they don't stay up, he will go back up. He's going to go back up. Which team it is, I'm not sure yet, but I do see him going back to another club in the Premier League if Luton does get relegated.
He should. He really should. So moving past that, specifically with the Luton Town game, Holland silences his critics once again. The big critic of the week, Roy Keane. What in the okay, so let's just start it off this way. How about this? I think Mr. Keane is still playing on the fact that he fucked Alfie up. And he has some weird vengeance towards Holland for him to even be coming out his mouth with such disrespect, calling him a League Two player. Who's the other guy that said that he's nothing more than a goal scorer? Otherwise, aside from that, he's not a real football player.
That was on the same podcast with Jamie Carragher, and doubled down on it. And they said that they agreed with him, and they felt that was a valid criticism. JJ Watt was also on said podcast and was the one that was like, "Are y'all like smoking weed right now? Like what are we talking about here?" And it's 100%. He's still got a issue with Alfie from their playing days, and it's really sad and honestly pathetic of an adult, grown pathetic up, grouchy ass old man like him to hold a grudge this long and then turn it around and take it out on the dude's kid who's just trying to go about his business and is by all accounts a great human being and an awesome and amazing football player. But you seem to find every opportunity to just bang on the kid from a 30-year argument and dispute and feud with his father. Like, what are we talking? What are we doing here? It's so pathetic to me and it's so transparent what's going on. It's obvious as hell what he's doing. And then it's just stop talking about it, dude. Like, move on and have some maturity. Like, you're acting childish as fuck right now.
You know what's funny about people like him, and this goes to any facet of a life, any happenstance. The people like that talk so far out their ass haven't had their ass beat once or in a really long time to shut them the fuck up. I think, and I'm not saying I'm for violence. I'm saying that we should go back to the days of implying an old school brawl between people. Get the bullshit out. Take your punches. Realize who won and who lost, and move the fuck on. Because, again, to have this being cast on your son 20-something years, almost 30 years later, that is so pathetic. That is, and you clearly don't have anything else to say. So, I mean, the red media is probably telling you, say this to get this reaction, and you're getting it. So, I mean, we're basically giving them what they want, if that's the case. But, I don't know, man. I think it's just absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah. Kudos to Alfie for taking the high road when he was asked to comment on it. He did not say anything super negative. He kind of rose above the whole fray and was just classy about the whole situation. So kudos to him for rising above the bullshit from the red side.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so other happenings in the Premier League, specifically today. We had some help from our friends, if you will. From what I understand, after that result, I heard that the Arsenal Bottling Company just opened and they have a new slogan. Are you ready for this? Are you ready?
Yes.
Just in time for summer.
Crispy, refreshing.
Get out my business. Get out my business.
We are sitting at the top of the Premier League table once again, and all in our hands. Hence the name of this show tonight. Look at that. Look at that.
Look at that.
At home, losing to Crystal Palace 1-0. Oh, and then Villa helping us out against Arsenal. God, that was a good one. That one right there is a good one. And for those of you who are in our demographic age-wise are probably laughing as much as Colby is right now. Any of our younger folks, check out American Pie.
Right?
It's a very classic 90s flick, early 2000s flick for us. So please go check it out, and then you can laugh with us.
Yes, absolutely.
It could not have gone any better. This is exactly what we talked about.
Jim is Jim is Liverpool, and they fucked the pie today. They fucked the pie big time.
At home.
So where does this leave us? This leaves us basically with a clear shot to the top to become 4-time reigning champions of the league. What do we need to do aside from win out to ensure that trophy comes back home?
That's the tricky part because like us this weekend where we played first and were able to put and apply the pressure. I know, right?
Right.
Pie sound. You ain't wrong, George. You are not wrong. Oh my God.
Please don't watch this.
Just listen.
Just listen.
So, like us, those two clubs, because we still have FA Cup matches to play this coming weekend against Chelsea, we don't play again for a bit in the Premier League, which leaves the door open for Arsenal and Liverpool to play
twice,
two times each before we jump back into it. So they will be able to, depending on the results and how they fall, put the pressure back on us. But you know what? One of these three clubs consistently handles pressure and rises to the challenge at the end of the season, and that's City. So I have every faith that we're going to win out and take care of business and become the first 4-time in a row champions of the Premier League. George, we are not going to be super friends this weekend when we play Chelsea in the FA Cup. However, y'all have a part to play, because if you could do us a huge solid and take care of Arsenal for us when you play them in a couple weeks,
please.
That would be. I'll be wearing my royal blue because my daughter's team that I help coach is they're the royal blue, so I have a lot of royal blue shirts and whatnot. So I'll be rocking that in support of y'all's club that day for sure. Yes,
every time.
In fact, yes. Absolutely, dude. I'm fired up because we talked about this, that we needed to put the pressure on those clubs to win on Saturday so they could do what they do. And that's exactly what happened. They they bottled, they blew it, and we are sitting top again with all in our hands. Because not a week ago was everybody saying it's Liverpool's title to win or Arsenal's title to win and City are out of it. And 7 days later, here we are.
Yep.
We told y'all. City fans did not panic.
This guy.
No, George is the one who's out of control right now.
Right?
George is out of control.
You are making false claims. I know it. Still waiting for a response. Yeah, I bet you are. It's gonna sit on blank for a whole lot of time. Listen, Poch. What do you do with Poch after this season if he doesn't fulfill what Chelsea is looking for? I mean, like, you keep him one more year. I'm in favor of it, like, personally. I think that there's still so much young talent on that team that there is so many capabilities or routes that this could go. Oh, yep, I'm always out of control. And that's not my last name, by the way. Mr. I don't know what your middle name is. That's my middle name, by the way. My last name is not my real name, just my real last name. There's a little information for everybody that's in here. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Right. Since we are playing Chelsea this weekend, right? We're playing them in the FA Cup. We have a little bit of a collabo happening for next show, right?
What? Not.
No, we do actually. We will be having our boy George. Yeah, you damn right I am. We will be having the Bit of Banner podcast on our show to be covering the FA Cup recap for the week. We are super excited to have them on. George being one of them, Greg, Patrick, you guys are awesome. And again, we can't wait to have you in our space and talk shop. And hopefully Patrick, Joe, and myself will be ripping you a new one. We'll also be heavily petitioning for George and Greg to come join the Sky Blue side of things. So
always room,
stay tuned for that. Before we wrap this out, I do want to talk one more time about our fan series that starts on April 28th with guest Pat Weitzel from Houston. Just so you guys know and understand what's going on, we are rolling the red carpet out for the fans of the show and city. Our mission behind this is very simple: making people a part of this community and giving people a voice. We know what it's like sometimes to sit there in your own head or between your boys and you're like, man, I really want to say this. Man, I really want to say that. Well, here's your chance. Get in, get on with us. Let's talk some shit. Talk city, whatever you bring to the table, we'll accommodate. So if you'd like to do that, make sure that you hit us in the DMs on Instagram or X. You can also get a hold of us by sending an email to snobbyboyspodcast@gmail.com. I will be sure to check my inbox more than once every few days to see if anybody gets in there. But hopefully we'll see you soon. Joe, do you have anything left before we wrap this out?
I'm still just smiling and laughing at the fact that Arsenal and Liverpool both lost at home on the same day, one right after the other. That shit is magical.
Yes, sir. Banter on, baby. Banter on. Yeah. I'm with you.
Glowing about it, man. It was so exciting. So excited about that.
For sure.
The stars are aligning, folks.
Well, we control our destiny from now, so
bingo.
Let's keep the wins rolling. 2 competitions that we're in. The treble is attainable at this point. So week to week, just keep your eyes on match in front of you. Don't think too far ahead. And yeah, that's all I got for you all for all y'all tonight. Jesus Christ. Listen, I have had 90. Well, hold on. Excuse me. 74 minutes. 74 minutes of flawless talking, and then I decide to fuck the pooch right at the end. Jesus Christ. Jesus. Stupid. All right, so closing out, make sure that you hit the like, make sure you hit the subscribe, make sure you hit the notification for everything that we do. Make sure that you go on and follow us on social media at SnobbyPod. You can find us on Instagram, X, Facebook, TikTok. Get us on the TikTok. Till next week, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not sure about that whole whatever. Till next week. We'll see you. And I'm going to leave you with...